Welcome to Boxing on the Record with Shy Town and Randy. What's going on with you today, Shy Town? What you got on your mind that you want to get off and put it on the record?
Man, Randy, man, I appreciate this whole platform, man. I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to go ahead and put this on the record. Man, I saw an image today of Fundora versus Keith Thurman, and that's a fight that's going to be going on for Fundora's 154-pound belt on October 25th. And as you know, that's 2 days before one of the greatest fighters that everybody knows in boxing history, Zab Judah. Yeah, maybe not the greatest, but our guy Zab Judah, his birthday is October 27th. A nice little southpaw. Somebody else may have a similar birthday. But this is what kind of rung out to me. This is what kind of rung out to me, man. When I saw that picture, because I've always thought of Fundora as like maybe 6'4", 6'3", and Keith Thurman is like 6'5'9". But then when I saw that picture, then I was like, good Lord. What is going on here? Um, and then to be more accurate, I think Keith is in his mid-30s. Fedora's, I think maybe 5'6", 5'7", or something like that. But the disparity is beyond belief. And so I just definitely wanted to talk about that fight just real fast. As we know, Keith Thurman himself, um, yeah, he's no longer one time. He has been one time probably since he fought the Ghost. Um, but uh, but he's a good hype man. He's a good hype man, but I think his true talent is as a boxing analyst. He knows boxing. This is what I really like about him. He sees those things that old school boxers see, and I give him nothing but respect for that. Fendora with this height, man, fighting at 154, man. You know, my weakness is for cats who are tall at those smaller divisions who can actually fight and fight tall. Paul the Punisher Williams, you know, during his day
One of my
before,
favorites.
oh man, his accident, Lord. But then, who is my one of my favorite tall men? He wasn't even as tall as Fedora, but tall men at that weight, what 135, 147. Tommy the Hitman Hearns. And what he does not get credit for when he was fighting at that lighter weight is that he actually, and I've said this over and over again, he actually is a better boxer, boxer, than Sugar Ray Leonard. Not a better fighter. I'm not talking
Mm.
about fighter brawler. I'm talking about boxer. Boxer, a person that can move around the ring, a person that can fight and use their jab and set up punches and everything. Tommy Hearns is a cat that does that and has done that and had done that much of his career. And then he obviously started filling out his weight. What was always disappointing to me about Fendora is a cat that had that height but fought small, just like all these other tall cats that we knew who are heavyweights, who are tall but fought small, from the Klitschko's down to Lance Lewis until they got Emmanuel Stewart. Blessed memories, the same person that basically made the Motor City Cobra into the Hitman, as we know. Showed him how to move, how to use that footwork properly. And he was in that very first fight that Tommy Hearns had against Sugar Ray. He gave him all kinds of fits all the way through, all 14 rounds, 13, let's say 12 and a half, 13 rounds. But then in that 14th round with Sugar Ray, it was like, okay, I got to go for broke. And Tommy had his heart, too much heart. That's the reason why he won. But anyways, beyond that, a tall man being able to fight tall and use his height is exactly what I always wanted in these lighter weights. So now we come down to 154. We see Fundora, who is a very tall man, fighting against a short guy, Keith Thurman. The issue I have with this fight is this is a fight that Thurman is way past his prime. This is a fight to keep paying the bills. Because I have nothing else to do. I wish he would just literally just lock in a gig as an analyst. But he will go out there and try to be something or give us a glimpse of who he was. And we saw glimpses of him actually in that Manny Pacquiao fight. We saw the slow down Keith Thurman. We saw a slow down Manny Pacquiao. We saw that so-called age setting, but then we did see Keith Thurman kind of go back to who we know him as, and not as that one time, but as a true today we would say athletic fighter, but Keith Thurman is actually a rhythmic fighter. This is what I like about him. He knows how to fight with rhythm and fight in rhythm, which is extremely rare in this modern day boxing. This is how all the old school fighters were taught to fight, 80s up into the early 90s, 70s, all that stuff going back to 60s. We fight in rhythm. That's what boxing was. Boxing wasn't a person that comes out and just does this high guard and then hits you in between different punches or steps to the side and does a counter punch. We know how to punch within rhythm while we're flowing, sort of like a dance move. Dancing. Keith Thurman knows that well. And the best way to see that or to see him display that is in his fight against Sean Porter. When you saw him fighting in rhythm, not running, not doing all these things going around the ring, because that's what you're supposed to do as a boxer too. You're supposed to fight from distance and everything. But you saw him throwing punches off of his movements. You saw him setting up punches. You saw him fighting in a certain rhythm. Like we talk about people that dance, we say that quote unquote black people dance on the 2-4 beat. White people, quote unquote, dance on the 1-3 beat. And so for someone that's danced on the 2-4, someone on the 1-3 is off rhythm to a 2-4 person. So
let me ask you this. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought you was about.
No, okay. So I'm gonna pass it right to you and just say a person that's fighting in rhythm.
I just had a question for you. That's why I asked.
Assume they're fighting in a 2-4 thing, and when we say that they're fighting off rhythm, they're throwing an off beat to a person to get them to kind of fall into a 1-3 beat that would be off rhythm for them, and that's something that Keith Thurman was very good at doing previously. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna ask you, do you think if he fight in that a rhythmic style that we know him for, would it make a difference on his behalf in this Fundora fight? No, or do you think size is? That's two questions. Do you think size is going to be just too much? Height is going to be just too much?
Sure. No, it's not going to make a difference in that. And I'm glad you asked that question because just like everything, as we age, as we get older, we start losing a step. We don't have the ability to do all of that anymore. So he does not have that rhythm that he once had. And it's going to cause him to be a little bit more flat, but he's going to try to do what he can in bursts. But his rhythm is not going to be the rhythm that we knew him of back when he was one-time Thurman. And so he will try to do that. He will move somewhat. He will do those things. He will be even less rhythmic than the Pacquiao, but try to get the illusion that he is by moving around. It will be more of a running, more an instinct. And Fundora still has not perfected on how to fight tall yet, but I think his height and the way that he fights tall now will still be enough to beat Keith. It will be enough to beat Keith. Keith will just be going off of his name and being like, oh, this is what, one of those shoulda, coulda, woulda. What I used to be able to do, I'm a basketball player. I used to be able to, get the ball from one end and come straight down and just off of rhythm, shoot a tray from half point, or the halfway mark.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can't just bounce off and do that anymore. When I get ready to come, I gotta kind of run a little bit faster, and then there's a little pause. I have to pause for a second to bend down and then jump up and try to throw it. And I'm throwing it different. That's those little rhythmic differences that are going to be with Keith. And you can see it in the footwork. That's how you see it. You see all this in the footwork. You see the change in the foot style. It will look similar, but you will see the cadence is slower. The cadence is different. And excuse me, with Fundora, because he doesn't know how to fight tall all the way yet, he won't pick up on those cadence differences so that he himself can pick his feet up and push at a different rhythm and a different pace. He will still just focus on putting his jab out there, trying to avoid some of Keith's wild punches or do whatever and dip it under and hitting Keith with his stuff. And then it's just going to get into an old man trying to avoid this young man, but still try to teach this young man a moving, quote unquote, boxing lesson. So I think he will bring a little bit more to Fundora to help Fundora on his movement abilities, but it's only going to be a little bit of that, because Fundora, I think, should have been tapped into by a good trainer who can teach those types of footwork, movements, changes, rhythmic type of things a couple of years ago, as opposed to just throwing your jab out there and trying to fight and stop fighting small. But I think Fundora's going to give a show. It's going to be all this thing, but I do not think Fundora has anything to worry about with Keith. And I think that in this particular fight, as much as I was talking about rhythm and stuff, I think it's just literally, I think Fundora, because he's starting to learn how to fight tall, I think he's just really going to base his fight off of just his jab, keeping the jab out there. Keith has to come underneath that jab. But here's the problem with that. Is you have to have that step. You have to have that footwork to dip underneath the jab to be able to do these things. And you're not going to be able to do it because you're older, Keith, because you don't have that fast twitch reaction that you need to be able to dip, to the left, dip to the right, and come right back in, all that stuff. You feel it in your head. In your heart, you feel like you can do it, but then your legs are going to show something different. There's a hesitation. There's a 2-3 step hesitation. And when you go underneath the other one, when you go underneath the jab, you dip underneath the jab, there's a whole hesitation there. Now you're there for another punch coming in. You're thinking, oh, I can swing right back real quick, back under the jab, and you swing right back into another punch. You don't realize that you are actually moving slower. You're behind the step. You're behind the step that's going to constantly have you off. And you're going to be like, okay, I need to do this. Until assessing you, I can't move like I used to. Father time. And this is how Fundora's going to win. If Fundora gives up his height and fights small, Keith has a great chance in possibly winning. Because Keith can fight close with him. He has a great chance fighting close. They can't fight like the old Keith. Go ahead.
So do you think, on your opinion, do you think Keith still got enough to get up under the jab and get in there to Fundora? Because I noticed Fundora lately, in his last few fights, he's been fighting tall. At one time, you remember we used to see Fundora give up his height.
Absolutely.
But lately, I've been seeing him keep him on the end of the stick. Do you think Keith can get around or get up under or get walk through the stick to get to him to make the fight competitive? Or you think it might be one of those washes where Keith can't get in like Tim Tszyu? Tim Tszyu really couldn't get in on
exactly
on
like that.
Do you think it'll be one of those?
Yeah, I do. Unless Keith kind of tries to not necessarily fight like Keith, but just tries to, if he's in shape, tries to put a lot of pressure moving forward on Fundora, just try to get Fundora. Okay, so here's the thing. Fundora can't throw one jab. He's going to have to triple up on his jab. He's going to have to high punches behind that, so that Keith is going to be like, I don't know when to come in. The thing about it is, when you're throwing 3, 4, 5 punch jabs, you're even hooking off your jab. You're doing uppercut off the same jab. You could be throwing a straight down, hidden in between there, where the person doesn't know when to come in, doesn't know when to do anything. If you're not necessarily in shape, all of that can become tiring after maybe 4 rounds or so. And so you're not throwing 4 jabs anymore, 5 jabs, 6 jabs. You're not throwing, a jab, hook to the body off the same hand, hook to the head, uppercut, then coming straight. Not doing that anymore. Your jabs are coming down 1, 2, So it's easier for a person to start timing it because you're getting tired. And then your footwork is not as good. He still doesn't have the best footwork. So in those areas, if Keith's pressure, meaning just putting his gloves up and just going forward, making this dude constantly jab at you, like in the first thing, starts making him tired, then he could make Fundora give up his height. Fundora going to go back to what's comfortable for me, because it is hard unless you've just been trained that way to constantly stay on the outside, to constantly jab, to keep that jab going. That gets tiring unless your arm is really built up like that. And from Fundora's fights that we've seen before, he was more, whoever trained him, so he was trained to be an inside fighter as opposed to being this tall fighter. And he just has to start learning how to fight tall. And still, even at that, even at his height and at the weight, Fundora is still slow, man. We don't ever really
very,
very, you know what I'm saying?
Very.
It just kind of creates something. I've been trying to figure it out. His slowness is just because he's thinking too much, if it's because he's off balance, is it just because he's, I hate to say it, is it because he's just a basic fighter? You know, he could just be a basic.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely a basic fighter. He's definitely a basic fighter. I don't see nothing special about him. Me personally, I don't see nothing special about him. To me, you got to be really, 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 really special to be a tall, special, great fighter. I think. Like I said, Paul Williams was one of my favorites in the recent years.
Man, I mean, you don't get that.
Yeah, and he looked good doing it. And I know looks ain't everything, but he looked good doing it. Fundora, to me, he looks like the same way.
Yeah,
I would say Tyson Fury and the Klitschko's was they were came along at the right time, I think, because they was tall and big, and they can keep you out of there. And whoever trained them how to fight tall. They wasn't special. To me, they wasn't. I mean, you know what I mean? And you win a lot, even though.
No, I agree.
You don't have to do much if you can learn that basic move. But once somebody cracked the code,
yeah,
you know, if whoever followed the one that cracked the code, you'll continue to get beat with the same simple code cracking. But as long as you're doing your simple, you know, your 1-2 or whatever, and when they come in, you throwing, you know, you can look good. But we look for different things than other people. I'm sorry about that, but I don't think he's a great fighter neither. He just
keep going. Yeah. Fundora, yeah, we see him as a basic thing. Those are things I try to stay hesitant on because I want to give these young fighters an opportunity. And you know, the thing I hated about him from Jump Street was that he always gave up his height. Now he's trying to do something different. So I'm trying to keep an open mind for him doing something different because that could change your boxing style. You can become better. I've always felt in that family his sister is the better fighter.
You always said that. And you always not cried, but you always scream the fact that he's giving up his height. He's giving up his height. He's giving up his height. So that was one of your pet peeves. And like you say, you always acknowledge that his sister was a better fighter. And also you always acknowledge that Daniel's sister was a better fighter than him.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, I was going to The boys and the oh boy, Fundoras. Both of them, the best fighters in those families are the girls. So
in conclusion of
you, I want to get your take. You get your whole thing. How do you have this fight going with Thurman and Fundora? This is for Fundora's 154-pound WBC belt.
Mm-hmm. I really don't like the fight. I don't see, and everybody got a puncher's chance. I just don't see Keith winning this. This is one of those fights again where, you know, I'm a strong advocate of we always going on. I'm a strong arguer or whatever, that we always going on names. I'm just at the point now that Keith has a name and Fundora's fighting a name, which he don't need. Fundora don't need Keith. Keith need Fundora. Because Keith don't really have nothing to offer. But Fundora have Keith Thurman on his resume, and he don't have the same one time. He got no time on his resume, but it's still gonna read one time. But I don't like to fight for Keith, and I think Keith is just selling his name to a up and coming guy to build his resume. I don't think Keith has a chance of winning. And I'm not saying that, like I said, they all have a puncher's chance, but I don't think he have a chance of winning. For one, he haven't been in the ring. He haven't been active enough to win. Like you said earlier, and I agree. Keith is a salesman. Keith and AB probably two of the best salesmen in boxing. Blair Cobb want to be, but he don't hold a candle to neither one of them. But I know we're not talking about them, but I don't like this fight for Keith. I never did like the fight for Keith. I just think this is gonna be one of those fights that Keith look bad. He gonna probably run around the ring, and if Fundora catch him good to the body, he gonna show his weakness. Might speed his mouthpiece out. Might go to the corner and take a drink, sit on, and you know, he might even go and commentate and then come back in the ring. I don't know what Keith might do, but but I don't like this fight.
On for a second.
Yeah, he might put the headsets on. He said he the first time. Y'all know me, boy. I'm the first one to commentate and fight at the same time, boy. This one time do it all. I did it all one time. You know, that's just one time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I can dig it.
I just don't like it for him. And some fights I just don't like. I mean, and we as fans, some of us as fans, we don't even really care. We just want to fight. Just like I told you, I don't like this fight with Devin and Brian Norman. And he might watch Brian, but I don't think Devin looking good enough for me for Brian Norman. So we're not gonna jump on that. But I'm just saying some fights I just don't like, and I just don't like this one. That's just my take on it. I don't like this one.
Man, you said it all, Randy. I really don't have anything else, man. You said it all.
Oh, with that being said, then we're gonna get out of here. Always a pleasure talking to you, Shot. Always a pleasure, man. We look forward to getting together on the record, man, because I know you're gonna put something good on the record. And if you don't have nothing else, you have anything else?
That's it, baby.
That's it. Well, we out of here, man. Like last year.
Peace.